Hello everybody, my name is Arthur Fletcher. I'm the Consultant Research Director for Blau Research in the UK. My paper is called Let's All Play the Game. The reason it's called that is because I believe that there is a great opportunity within the area of qualitative research to transform the way we do things. But let me explain. I've been involved with a product called Design Game for about 5 years now. And Design Game is, as you can see from my small graphic, is a face-to-face game which we play with a question master who sits at one end. That's the moderator. We have some respondents. And in this particular version of the game, we actually have two people who are designers. I'll just very quickly explain how it works. It's a co-creation tool, so it's very much designed for generating ideas for products and packaging. Blau, together with Flex, who are a Dutch commercial design company, designed this specifically for basically 3D design. So as I say, I've spent 5 years working with this. It's interesting in that respondents play this game for 2 hours. They think they're coming along to some sort of research session. They probably think they're going to attend a focus group, but when they arrive, they will very quickly see that it's something markedly different. When people arrive, we put them into teams. They don't know each other beforehand, and then with 1 or 2 minutes of introduction, we're straight into playing the game. So we have teams of 2 or 3 people, and they complete game tasks. Now the game tasks are effectively the discussion guide, which we reduce down into a number of tasks, and I've got some examples which I'll show you later on. It's worked in 2 main phases, what we call an analysis phase to identify issues, to find out what challenges, problems, and so on people have, and then there's a synthesis phase, which is then designed to look at solutions to those particular problems. We have a final phase where we're sort of out of game mode, which is really to review what's been going on, where people can then add to any of the ideas that have come forward. And it's generated some extremely successful products. The biggest so far is a product which is a drink, which is available in Northern Europe and I think to a certain extent the UK. Made by a company called Hero, and turnover something like 400 million euros a year. So it's generated some really, really successful products. Now I'm not here to say much more about Design Game, but I wanted to let you know what I've been able to glean from Design Game and the way that it works. First of all, it's extremely productive. All the tasks that we give to respondents are against the clock. They get given 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 2 minutes in order to complete a task. Consequently, it's extremely engaging. It's a very different way of approaching research. Clients actually love it because we very much want clients to be involved. We tend to run our sessions in viewing facilities so that the clients can see it, and I think the clients are amazed by the sheer volume of information that comes out using the gaming approach. It's great fun. It's hard work. It's hard work for everybody involved. 2 sessions a day is the maximum that I think we as moderators can do. But from my point of view, it's the best thing I've done in years. I've been around probably longer than I should be in the market research world, but this is the best thing I've done in years. I've been looking around for ways of doing things differently from what we did in the 50s. When I do a traditional focus group, these days I'm thinking 50 years ago it would have been working more or less the same way. So this is extremely refreshing and different way of looking at doing qualitative research. So my question is, why don't we play a game instead of following a discussion guide? Well, there are some pros and cons. The pros, it's more productive, as I've already said. Now, let me try and give you some numbers on that. For the same amount of time, worked with actually fewer respondents than you would normally have in a focus group. So we're talking 4 to 6 respondents as opposed to the typical 8 respondents in a focus group. We probably get 50% more content by volume, and by volume I'm simply meaning words, verbiage. But when you look at the content, there's probably 75% more content by topic. There's so much more that people are giving back using this approach. And I think when you see some of the examples, you'll see why. Everybody's fully engaged. There are no people sitting in a corner not saying anything who the moderator might have to draw out in some other sort of session. And by the way, let me say that we don't choose people who are, in quotes, creative. They just need to be articulate, like any other focus group respondent. It's also more insightful. We do get more deeply into the topic because there is this focus, this cognitive focus that people have to have in order to play the game, in order to do the tasks. And also, I've used this term, apprehension blocking. This is just when people think to themselves, well, I won't say that because it might sound silly, or maybe I'm a bit unusual because I'm the only person that does it that way. Because we work against the clock, because people are having to compete against each other as teams, they have to win the round, they have to win the task, there is minimal apprehension blocking. But there are some cons, of course, as always, and probably the biggest one is client acceptance. Clients accepting using this form of technique for straightforward qualitative research. After all, it's a game. It's a very serious game, but it's a game. But you could also argue that maybe a focus group is just a fireside chat by any other name. Clearly it's not suitable for all qualitative assignments, but I'm sure it's fine for the majority of standard assignments. We've done quite a lot of comparative work using gaming and using conventional focus group methodology, and in most cases we're able to cover the same ground. There is an issue maybe that there is a lacking scope for detailed probing, because if all the tasks are against the clock, we may not be able to probe down as deeply as we might, and as a result maybe some of our research purists wouldn't like it because of that approach. It's not that detailed probing is impossible, clearly it is, but the scope for it is definitely limited. Maybe it's also more expensive. In the design game version we actually have a researcher and 2 designers, so you've got 3 professionals sitting around the table. In the ordinary research game, the insight game as we call it version, we have 2 junior researchers as well as the senior researcher sitting around the table. So you've still got 3 people who have to pay to be there. So yes, it is a bit more expensive as an approach. But let me just show you some examples of how we might compare the way we would run a focus group and the way we might run the same thing in a game. So, in a discussion guide, you might have this type of question. And these are actually live examples from some work we've done. So it could be, what are the sorts of things that frustrate you when shopping online? Okay, it could be that Karen says, well, I find it hard to navigate through the website. What does anybody else think? Oh, well, I'm a bit concerned that somebody's going to grab my credit card details or so on. So you'd have a conversation. Compare this with the way that you tackle it as a game. In the next 60 seconds, I want you to list as many things as you can that frustrate you when shopping online. The team with the highest number wins a round. So the teams crack on straight away. There's no padding with their verbiage. They shout out their responses, and the role of the third professional in the team is to record what they're saying. So the respondents just need to shout out, oh, security, somebody might steal my bank details, navigating, that's a problem, and that's the way it happens. So it happens very quickly, and there's a lot of content. But also, you might argue that they could just say anything and throw down anything in order to just get more things than the other team. We can add in things like, what are your top 3 frustrations out of the list they've given, and give 3 reasons for each, and again, give people 60 seconds. So you can see there's a very different way of approaching the same subject by using a sort of gaming approach. So that could then move on. Okay, so you mentioned security is a big issue when shopping online. How might this be overcome? Now that's a very simple sort of task that you might have in a discussion guide. Easy to say, but very, very hard for respondents to do. In focus groups, respondents typically are not that creative. In gameplay, you might say, security has been identified as a major issue. In the next 2 minutes, you need to design a new security system and give 3 reasons why it's an improvement on the current system. You look at that and you think, there's no way that people could actually deliver this. Well, in actual fact, they can, they do. This is something that we've already done, and they do produce some quite amazing ideas. So let me just show you a final example. In a discussion guide, you might be looking to show a number of concepts. I have several ideas for new internet security systems to show you. I want to know what you think of each. That would be a typical discussion guide approach. You'd show the board, and everybody would have a look, and they'd comment or not. In the gameplay, we might approach it this way. Here's an idea for a new security system. What are the main positives and negatives? You have 60 seconds to list as many as you can. The team with the highest number wins around. And again, if we need to prioritize that, we can use the technique that we had before. I hope in this very brief presentation that you can see that there is a difference. Gaming does have a role to play. It can be extremely productive, extremely insightful. So my question, as I posed it earlier on, is why shouldn't we play a game instead of following discussion guide? And I'm sure that if we have any questions, it would be really nice to take them at the moment. Thank you.